Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Huge thanks to Dulaxi for sponsoring this one. We couldn't do it without you. Today we're diving into the music of Golos KAA. He's a fascinating artist, born in Russia, but now based in Singapore. And his music is this really cool blend of hip-hop and experimental sounds.
Yeah, he's got a really unique sound.
Yeah, and his latest single, Warming Light, is getting a lot of attention. Some reviewers are even calling it a surprising departure from his usual style. So let's get into it.
Well, I think to really appreciate Warming Light and why it's causing such a stir, you have to understand Golos KAA's journey as an artist.
Okay, so let's start there. What's his story?
He actually started his career in St. Petersburg playing dark jazz with a band called the Fugu Quintet. Can you imagine that?
Wow, so different from what we're hearing now.
Right, and then he moved to Singapore and launched this solo career that's just completely different sonically. It's pretty remarkable.
So he went from dark jazz in Russia to a solo hip-hop career in Singapore. That's quite a transition. How would you describe his sound now?
It's tough to pin down because he really does blend these seemingly disparate elements. He's got this minimal production style, but then he layers in these deep bass lines and these really atypical samples.
Atypical samples, like what?
Well, in one track, he actually sampled the sound of a sizzling frying pan and worked it into the beat. It's so unexpected and adds this really cool textural element you wouldn't normally associate with hip-hop.
Wow, that's awesome. It definitely sounds like he likes to push boundaries.
Oh, absolutely. He's not afraid to experiment, and that's what makes him so interesting. But with Warming Light, there's a definite shift. It's more melodic, more introspective than his earlier stuff.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I was struck by how different it felt. It's definitely softer than his other work, less ironic, and those heavy hip-hop beats are gone.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he's inviting us into a different side of himself.
Exactly. It's like we're getting a glimpse into a more vulnerable side of his artistry.
So let's talk about the song itself, shall we? Let's actually listen to the opening. I love how it starts with this incredibly gentle guitar intro.
Yeah, and notice how much space there is in the arrangement. It's really minimal. He's not overwhelming you with a ton of sounds. He's letting each note breathe.
It really does create this feeling of intimacy.
It does, and then his vocals come in, but he's not rapping.
He's singing.
Right. And there's this gentleness to his voice, but it's also incredibly expressive. You really feel like he's connecting with you on an emotional level.
It almost feels like he's stripped away all pretense and he's just bearing his soul to the listener.
It's powerful stuff, and it makes you wonder, is this vulnerability intentional or just a natural result of the musical style he's exploring here?
That's a great question, and I think it speaks to the brilliance of this track, because it really does make you think. It makes you question the artist's intent, your own emotional response. It's like there are all these layers of meaning to unpack.
Totally. And as the song progresses, we start to hear these other instruments being introduced little by little, which adds to that whole atmosphere.
Yeah, there are these almost ambient sounds that come in, creating this expansive feeling. It's beautiful.
It's like the soundscape is expanding, mirroring that sense of exploration we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. But it's interesting how even though he's adding more instruments, the overall production still feels restrained. He's not creating this wall of sound. Every element is carefully layered, and it all works together so well. It's really sophisticated.
He's a master of creating these sonic tapestries.
He really is. And then about halfway through, something really unexpected happens. Did you catch it?
You mean the trumpet?
Yes. It comes out of nowhere, and it's almost melancholic. It adds this whole other dimension of emotion to the piece.
It's so powerful, isn't it? That trumpet solo to me feels like a nod to his jazz roots. Like he's bringing his past into this new sound he's created. It's this really cool musical conversation between different phases of his journey.
I love that it's like he's acknowledging where he came from, even as he's pushing forward into new territory.
Exactly. And that's what makes Golos KAA so compelling. He's always evolving, always experimenting, but he never forgets his roots.
That's a great way to put it. He's got this unique blend of innovation and respect for tradition, and that really comes through in Warming Light.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why it's resonating with so many people.
It's a powerful track.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see where he goes from here. I have a feeling this is just the beginning of something really special.
Me too. Golos KAA is definitely an artist to watch.
Agreed. So to our listeners, if you haven't heard Warming Light yet, I highly recommend checking it out.
It's a journey you won't want to miss.
It's like he's taken all these pieces of his musical past and woven them into this beautiful new tapestry.
That's a great way to describe it. You know, one thing that really struck me about Warming Light is the sense of place that you can feel in the music.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It definitely has a different vibe than his other work.
Well, remember, it was written in Bali and then produced in Singapore. So you have these two incredibly diverse environments kind of feeding into the sound.
I hadn't thought about it like that. But you're right, Bali has this spiritual tranquility to it. And then Singapore's urban and dynamic. It's almost like those contrasting energies are being channeled through the music.
I think that's a really insightful observation, and it ties into what we were talking about earlier with the sense of exploration.
Right, because exploration, whether it's physical or emotional, is all about venturing into the unknown, navigating unfamiliar terrain. And there's definitely that feeling of uncertainty in the way Warming Light balances those tranquil and dynamic elements.
Exactly. It's like there's this searching quality to the music, a yearning for something just beyond the horizon.
And speaking of exploration, it's interesting that Golos KAA decided to release Warming Light in 3 different versions: English, Russian, and instrumental.
Oh, yeah, I think that's brilliant. It's like he's inviting listeners to explore the music from different angles, breaking down those language barriers, and creating this truly universal experience.
Absolutely. It really speaks to the power of music to transcend cultures and connect with people on a purely emotional level.
It does, and it makes me think about the bigger picture. You know, we've talked about the music, the production, the lyrics, the themes, but what does it all add up to? What's the takeaway for the listener?
That's a great question for me. Warming Light is ultimately a message of hope and resilience. It's like this reminder that even when things are tough, even when you're surrounded by darkness, there's always a source of warmth and light to be found.
I love that, and I think it's so important, especially in today's world. We're bombarded with information, noise, stimulation all the time, and Warming Light offers this space for reflection, a moment of peace.
Yeah, it encourages you to slow down, to breathe, to find those moments of solace in the simple things.
It's like he's saying, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to seek comfort.
And that vulnerability is what makes the song so relatable. It speaks to that part of us that longs for connection, for a sense of belonging. It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And it really speaks to Golos KAA's artistry, his ability to create music that not only sounds incredible, but also touches your heart and lifts your spirits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder about his future. You know, he's mentioned exploring darker themes in his upcoming work. So where does Warming Light fit in with that?
Right. Does this single represent a permanent shift in his artistic direction, or is it just a brief detour, a moment of reflection before he dives into those darker territories?
It's hard to say for sure, but I guess that's part of the mystery. That's what makes it so intriguing.
It definitely leaves you wanting more. It makes you excited to see what he does next.
So to our listeners, if you haven't experienced Warming Light yet, do yourself a favor and go check it out. You won't regret it.
And remember, it's available in 3 versions, so you can really explore the music from different perspectives.
Yeah, there's something for everyone.
Take your time. Really listen to the nuances, the interplay of sounds and emotions. It's an experience that rewards close listening.
Well said. And of course, a huge thank you to Dulaxi for making this deep dive possible. We couldn't do it without your support.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep those minds open to new possibilities.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Warming Light, I think it's worth taking a moment to just kind of like recap, what we've talked about. What are some of the key takeaways that stood out to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, what's so fascinating about Golos KAA is that journey he's taken, from those dark jazz clubs in St. Petersburg all the way to the vibrant music scene in Singapore.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, to go from like atmospheric jazz to hip hop and experimental sounds. I mean, that's not an easy transition to make, and it really speaks to his versatility and his willingness to like embrace new sounds, new territories.
He's not afraid to experiment.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes him so unique. So Warming Light feels like this culmination of all those experiences. It brings together all these diverse influences, but it also feels like a departure.
Right. It's like he's stripping away some of those layers, the ironic lyrics, the heavy beats, and we're seeing a different side of him, a softer, more introspective side.
Yeah. And by doing that, he's allowing those core themes to really shine through. That sense of hope, the resilience, and that universal search for solace, when things feel uncertain.
And we really got to experience those themes firsthand when we listened to the track itself.
Yeah.
Starting with that beautiful ethereal guitar opening.
Yeah, that opening is just magical.
And then he slowly starts introducing these other instruments, creating this really rich sonic landscape. but he never overdoes it. It's like he's a master of minimalism.
Totally. He knows the power of space, letting those notes breathe, giving each element room to resonate.
And then there's that trumpet solo, which just came out of nowhere.
I know, right? Such a powerful moment. It adds this layer of melancholy, but it also feels like a nod to his jazz roots.
It's like he's acknowledging his past even as he's moving forward into these new creative spaces.
Exactly. It's brilliant.
Every element of this track feels so carefully considered. From the placement of the sounds to the mixing, it's clear that he's really dedicated to sonic sophistication.
Oh, absolutely. He's not just making music, he's crafting an experience.
And then there's the lyrics. On the surface, they're quite simple, but there's so much depth there.
So much to unpack.
Yeah, they really tap into those universal feelings of searching for comfort and strength when times are tough, and they leave room for the listener to find their own meaning.
It's like he's inviting us to connect with the music on a personal level.
Exactly. So as we come to the end of our deep dive, I think the big question that remains is, where does Golos KAA go from here? Does Warming Light signal a permanent shift in his sound?
Or is it just a brief exploration, a moment of reflection before he returns to those, those darker themes he's hinted at?
It's hard to say, but that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're left wondering what sonic landscapes he'll explore next.
He keeps us guessing.
He does, and that's a sign of a truly great artist. So to our listeners, if you haven't already, please go check out Warming Light. You won't regret it. And remember, it's available in English, Russian, and instrumental versions.
There's a version for everyone.
Yeah, so find the one that speaks to you and just get lost in the music. Let yourself experience the nuances, the interplay of sounds and emotions. It's really a journey worth taking.
Couldn't agree more.
And of course, a huge thank you to Dulaxi for sponsoring this deep dive. We couldn't do it without you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep those minds open.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.